So we've learned the practical tools and methodology of biomimicry, and we've perhaps shifted our thinking by applying biomimicry thinking. We've even learned life's principles and how we can learn from the natural world to have a set of guidelines for how to move towards a more sustainable and resilient world. Now it's time to think about what the world would be like if we actually designed a world that functioned like an ecosystem. Imagine a world that functioned like a forest, for example. In a forest, everything is integrated. You don't have the water system separate from the energy system, separate from the material system. Even none of those are separate from the exchange of value system. So what we want to do is we want to think about a world which integrates all these components and designs for a system that not only meets our functional needs, but at the same time nourishes all of life and continues to regenerate the place in which we live. Imagine we didn't have one centralized energy supply for a city. Imagine it was distributed across the entire city and a diversity of different types of energy supplies, not just solar, maybe a mix of wind and solar and passive systems as well. If we look at the water system in a forest, all of the entire forest is set up to capture and hold and store that water to let some water flow, cleaning it as it moves. And even these large trees you see here are huge pumping systems to move water back from the ground up into the atmosphere and to create the opportunity for rain to fall back onto the ground. There's not just one central place where we capture the water in a forest. It's distributed across the entire forest. And depending on the amount of rainfall in the area, really tries its best to either move the water quickly and prevent soil erosion, but at the same time capturing and storing what it can. If we imagine a city of the future, we don't just have a couple of reservoirs. The entire surface functions like a catchment area. As the water flows, finding the lowest energy pathway, the systems around it grow around the water flows. If we were to consider our water systems in terms of how we manage wastewater, instead of us moving it to a wastewater treatment plant where we try and clean the water quickly and then dispose of the toxic sludge that we've ended up in the water, what if we constantly thought about making materials that never ended up with any toxic sludge? What if we never put anything into the water that actually caused major pollution? But not only that, what if we cycled that water continuously, keeping it clean and making sure that we use it again and again? In a forest, every single material is constantly cycled again and again in the system. There's extraordinary functional materials here, but every single one of them is made from abundant, readily available materials, from abundant, readily available energy, using very low energy processes. And when their life system is over, they contribute back into the system, either building soil or providing the nutrients for the system as well. Imagine we designed cities or buildings that actually provided ecosystem services. What we mean is they contributed to the water needs of the place in which they were. They contributed to the energy needs. They contributed to the cycling of materials. And as we move towards more distributed, circular and regenerative economies in the way we design our world, it's not only in the material flow, but in the way we exchange value. Things like blockchain-based systems. We can use them for exchanging value in terms of currency, but we can also do it for exchanging materials and valuable services. If you think about this forest, it continues to grow and develop. We don't worry about overpopulation or too much growth in the forest, and yet it's contained within its own limits and boundaries. This is an example of what economic growth could be like, that is always enabling a thriving system. It's a regenerative economy. It's a distributed economy.